Hey, it's Scott Mason. Thanks for checking out our book reviews at freespeechmonster.com. Today I'm going to review one of my all-time favorite books, P.J. O'Rourke's Parliament of Whores, which came out in 1991. It was a New York Times bestseller. It's available in hardcover, paperback, and I think probably audio form too. I have the paperback edition, which is really good. It's very light. It's only 223 pages, so it's easy to carry around. You can bring it with you to the beach, or if you're waiting in line at the DMV or something like that. And quick backstory on this book for me. I got this book when I was in college, and I was a sociology minor in college because I figured it was easy, and I was right. Sociology is incredibly easy. But the thing was, I was bored because a lot of the stuff that they say in sociology class is just utter drivel and nonsense. So I would bring this book with me to my class. I think I had the class like 2 or 3 times a week. This was a particular sociology class. Can't remember exactly which one. But I would read, a chapter here, chapter there, make it look like I was reading the course material when I really wasn't. And it was kind of a dangerous experience for me because it was so funny that a lot of times I would have to bite my tongue, or I would have to pretend like I was sneezing so the teacher wouldn't think I was laughing. Almost got caught a couple of times. And it starts right with the beginning of the book, the preface, which is why God is a Republican and Santa Claus is a Democrat. And he talks about how, Santa Claus gives people free stuff, God makes you have responsibilities, and so on and so forth. And then he finishes it off with the kicker, which is God is real and Santa Claus isn't. I'm not a huge fan of Republicans, but that's still pretty funny. He goes into the mystery of government in the first chapter, where he talks about how a lot of people don't really know what's going on because there's so much boring stuff and procedural nonsense, and he kind of breaks it down in a funny, satirical way where you're sitting there going, oh my God, this is really what they do all the time. Then he talks about campaigns and the presidential elections in specific, and how they're just an absolute joke because it's basically who can promise what and who can lie to who. Then about how, the winners go off to Washington, D.C., and, then they proceed to engage in their shenanigans. And then the next chapter is actually called The 3 Branches of Government, Money, Television, and Bullshit. And essentially in this unit, he goes through all the different things that the government tries to get away with, and how they make it seem like they're doing a lot when they're not really doing anything. Basically, he says they're nothing but a bunch of busybodies who want to control your life and then don't really do anything important but want to make it seem like that. And let's be honest, that's pretty much how it is. Then he goes into all the failed policies in the next unit, which is called Our Government, What the Fuck Do They Do All Day, and Why Does It Cost So Much Goddamn Money? If you're offended by that language, then you probably shouldn't buy this book, and you probably shouldn't be listening to me right now. But he talks about drug policy and how it's a total waste of time and money, poverty policy, how it does nothing to actually help the poverty-stricken, agricultural policy, how it just enriches agribusiness and it doesn't really do anything for the family farmer, our foreign policy, how it's very much overreaching. Then the next unit, he goes into special interests and how they really, control the government through different social programs and all types of handouts to corporations and to individual people. And, I guess this modern day, this would apply to different lobbies and different groups like Acorn and corporations like Walmart, how everybody's always got their hand out looking for something. And the very last chapter is where he talks about how as much as we all fight it, everybody kind of likes the Parliament of Whores. In other words, if people are going to say they'll give you X or Y or Z, they take it, but then they don't want the other guy to get something. So, and then he concludes it, and my favorite part is the last sentence. Trouble is, in a democracy, the whores are us, which I think is basically true. It goes back to Thomas Jefferson's quotes about how democracy is just mob rule, and that's why we're a republic, and Benjamin Franklin's famous quote about how once people realize that they can vote themselves a part of the public treasury, there goes the republic. But I think the beauty of P.J. O'Rourke here is that he takes material that for a lot of people would be very dry, and because he's a first-rate satirist, he makes it all really, really funny. On top of being, easy to read and understand, it's really, really funny. And so when people will tell you now, oh, P.J. O'Rourke, he's over the hill, he's not as funny as he used to be, and you hear that about Dennis Miller too, I agree. Look, I still think P.J. O'Rourke is funny, and I still think Dennis Miller is funny, but I do think they both used to be funnier. But if you want to go to P.J. O'Rourke's absolute peak, when he was at his 100% best, this is his masterpiece as far as I'm concerned, and I've read a bunch of his books. Parliament of Whores is the one to get, no question about it. It's a must-have for anybody's collection. And you know what? Even if you're not somebody that believes in small, limited government, government, it's still funny. I mean, if you want a good example, here are a couple of the really funny quotes from the book. Tell me that a lot of these don't still apply today. Quote, the Democrats said, we don't know what's wrong with America, but we can fix it. And the Republicans said, there's nothing wrong with America, and we can fix that. Quote, feeling good about government is like looking on the bright side of any catastrophe. When you quit looking on the bright side, the catastrophe's still there. A little government and a little luck are necessary in life, but only a fool trusts either of them. And my favorite, my personal favorite from the whole book, giving money and power to government is like giving whiskey and car keys to teenage boys. And if that isn't about the most true thing you're ever going to hear in your life, I don't know what is. I know liberals who have read this book and still think it's hilarious. So either way, it's a must-have. If you don't have it, you've got to add it to your bookshelf. Go to Amazon or buy it at your local bookstore, but you definitely need this in your collection.